did you first, when were you first diagnosed with mesothelioma?
I was diagnosed in June of 2001. It was a chance diagnosis. I was having some issues, and my doctor wanted to do a complete physical exam with blood work and CAT scans and so on, just to get a picture of what's going on. And by chance, they found the nodules on my lungs, and that's how it all started.
And how have you been coping with it?
Mentally, physically, medically.
Yes.
Okay. Well, medically, when I was diagnosed in stage 4, bilateral, as well as on my diaphragm. I pretty much got the same answer from all the doctors that I went to, that, you know, it's a fatal condition. They gave me less than a year to live. At that time, I was only 41, and I just felt like I needed to do what I could do to fight it. I was too young to die. So I went to different doctors around the U.S., and the doctor up at Brigham and Women's, Dr. Sugarbaker, was someone who I thought was going to be able to help me. Well, come to find out, being that it was on both lungs, I wasn't eligible for the treatment that he was doing. Again, I was just pointed in the same direction, that was to get my affairs in order. I found out through a family friend about a clinic down in the Bahamas, and they do an alternative treatment, which is, it targets your immune system. The theory is to boost your immune system so that it will fight the cancer the way that your immune system is supposed to work. So pretty much that's the treatment that I've been getting. I did try a small amount of chemo, but it made me so ill that I just decided if I only had a couple of months to live, that wasn't how I wanted to live. So I just approached it as though it was a challenge, that I was going to do everything in my power to try to, you know, maybe I couldn't beat it, maybe, you know, it couldn't be cured, but I was going to find a way to be able to survive, you know, at least longer than the year that they gave me.
Well, you seem to be walking proof that you chose the right path.
Right, right. Well, I too, I'm a strong believer in God and faith and prayer, and I think that, you know, with my family and support from my friends and from God, that's, you know, I was pointed in that direction to go to the Bahamas, and so far, you know, I'm doing very well. It doesn't work for everybody. It's a treatment that, you know, there's been several people that I've gotten to know that went down there and they're no longer with us. So I can't say it's a miracle cure, but for me, it's been a miracle to extend my life.
And what kind of treatment is it?
Well, you know, I don't really know all the science behind it. I basically have, you know, put my faith in that God was going to get me to where I needed to be, and it's all I can tell you really is it's a immune therapy treatment. It's basically they have a serum, and I would give myself up to 10 to 12 shots a day, and each time I would go to the Bahamas for the treatment, I would always follow it up with a traditional doctor, because I do believe that traditional as well as alternative is the route that I wanted to take. So I'd follow it up with my physician, and she would order CBCs, CAT scans, and so on. I would see that the immune system numbers were all going up and up, and so without her being able to approve the treatment, she certainly said that if she was in my shoes, she would be doing the same thing. But since it's not FDA approved, of course she wasn't able to legally recommend that treatment to me, but she could see the evidence that it was working.
So how does it make you feel that can I help you with something?
You meeting me right now?
Hmm?
I was gonna break down equipment, but you're still doing it.
We're still doing that, yeah.
Okay, well,
So
let me
just be with George and get everything out of there,
there.
and everything's out of my room,
Yes.
okay? And so make sure everything's
So
out.
I need the red case.
No, not yet,
Okay.
not yet. That's what. Yes, take it. I'm sorry, take it. I've got this one. Here, take it. My apologies.
No problem.
How do you feel that the FDA has not approved this obviously effective for you treatment?
Well, I mean, I do understand that the FDA is here to protect us. And this is something where they don't have a published paper backing it up and showing what the science is. So I do understand that part. I wish that instead of them classifying it as, you know, a scam or the quack watch is what it's on, I wish that they would be a little more open to do their own investigations, considering, you know, there is proof. I'm not the only one that's still alive after many years, but you know, it's frustrating because I know that the clinic down there doesn't have the money to put into all the studies and the things that are required in order for it to be, you know, approved by FDA.
Mm-hmm. I would not be standing here if it were not for alternative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I could not take the chemo.
Right.
And without alternative,
Uh-huh.
36 years ago,
Wow.
would not be here.
What type of cancer?
Ovarian and uterine.
Wow. Wow. What type of treatment did you do?
Mostly nutritional,
Uh-huh.
extreme vitamins,
Uh-huh.
you know, just like clean everything out. I did have surgery,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, the rest of it I could not tolerate.
Mhm.
I just couldn't tolerate. That's all
Mhm.
there was to it. And they told me the same thing.
Right.
Like, you probably won't be here a year from now.
Right. Wow.
And you'll never have children.
Mm-hmm.
And I conceived 3 children, 1/8 of one ovary.
Mm. That's fantastic.
So it's like, you don't know
Right.
jack.
Right. Exactly.
And all I'm looking for are doctors that recognize that they're part of a process.
Right. Right.
Not the end of it,
Right.
or the beginning of it.
Exactly.
But they're part of a process.
Exactly.
That's kind of been my medical
Mhm.
mission ever since.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely understand that. You know, it's frustrating sometimes when some doctors don't even want to hear about it. I went to a doctor that I initially went to when I was diagnosed, and I reintroduced myself at a conference. At that point, it was probably 8 or 9 years after I was given, you know, the 1 year and there's nothing that's going to help and just prepare to die. And I introduced myself to him, and he was surprised to see me. He said he did remember me, and he said I looked remarkably well, and what am I doing? And you know, he was just very kind. And when I told him what I was doing, I'm not kidding, he turned his back and never spoke to me again.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know it's important to have the confidence of, you know, a cocky surgeon, so that, you know, you get somebody who thinks that they're the best and they're going to do the best. But at the same time, I think that they need to just be a little broad-minded and see that, you know, there are other things out there, and, you know, other things are helping people too, not just, you know, his surgical abilities. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. But again, I do see the doctor's side, because, like I said, I wouldn't want a surgeon that wasn't, you know, cocky and thought that he could somewhat cure me.
What's been the impact on your family?
Well, right before I was diagnosed, my husband and I separated. And since then, we've divorced. We weren't able to have children. In fact, I was going through infertility treatments, and I had thought that it was all the fertility drugs that were giving me the hot flashes and so on. Come to find out, I went through early menopause, and I had endometriosis. So we didn't have any children, and my husband and I had divorced. So that area was okay. I was a young woman, and I do wish that I had had some time to start my life over again. But immediately after, finding out about the divorce, I found out about the cancer. So personally, it's kind of stopped my second chance. My family, I've got 3 sisters and a brother who I worry every day about because we always lived in the same homes. We went to see the relatives that worked in the steel mills at the same time. So I worry about, whether any of them are going to, contract the disease also. So far, so good. My father passed, which is actually probably a good thing that he didn't have to deal with it, because he loved his children so much, and with the home improvement jobs that he did around the house, I think he would have felt guilty. And even though, of course, he didn't deliberately put us in harm's way, but I think he would have had problems dealing with it. And my mother is just dealing. She's again, she has a lot of faith, and she says the rosaries every day for me, and prays, and they've all been wonderful, though. I mean, very supportive. So I'm fortunate, because I know some people don't have family, or don't have, as loving of a family as I do, and I have got the best family, so I'm lucky.
What has ADAO and Linda meant to you in your journey?
Oh, it's so hard to even put it into words, because I was thinking this morning how being in a group of people that understand what I'm going through, and know, the fears that I have, it's just, I don't know, it just makes me feel kind of like I'm at home. Linda has just been such a huge support, and for her, I mean, she's gone through her own, horrible times, and, with the death of her husband, and she's put all that aside just to help people. So she amazes me, and I just really appreciate her, and I believe that she was brought into my life for a reason, and she's just always there with a kind word and a pep talk, and it's really helped me. I don't know, if I didn't have her and didn't have the organization, I don't know where I'd be.
What would you like Congress to do?
I would like Congress to ban asbestos. Asbestos, I know it's been regulated. Most people think that it is banned, but it's not, it's regulated. And to go into a store, and for instance, I was in a large hardware store, I won't say any names, but I saw in the fireplace section a bag of embers that you put in a gas fireplace, and on it, it said that it was one of the other names of asbestos, tremolite, I believe it was. Anyway, but it was, to me, because I had, I knew the situation and the term, I knew exactly what it was, and to think that that's still on a shelf, it just amazes me, because they say that the cases have come to a peak and we're going to start seeing a decrease. I don't believe that, because with the amount of people that are doing the DIY projects in their homes now. I mean, you've got whole networks that, you know, are devoted to tearing down walls and redoing your kitchen. You know, it gets people excited and people decide to take it on, not knowing what the dangers are, because they think asbestos is banned and that it's, you know, they're not at risk. And I know that there's going to be another peak at one point. And it's scary to think that younger people are being exposed today. And, you know, 30, 40, 50 years from now, they're going to be sitting in my place. And, you know, Congress needs to do something to prevent it from happening. And, you know, I know that there's a lot of money in, you know, in big business and the asbestos companies, and there's a lot of powerful people, but, you know, they need to consider, what if it was their child? What if it was their wife or husband that's being exposed to it, you know, because I'm not the typical person. It's not like I worked, you know, in an asbestos mine or, you know, worked in an area where asbestos, you know, was expected to be around me. It was a complete surprise, and, you know, who's going to be surprised tomorrow, you know, with the same diagnosis, and who's going to be surprised, you know, 10 years from now. So it's frustrating. There's got to be the beginning to an end, and I think that would be banning asbestos.